Start out, I think this is the Eclipse here. So the Eclipse is a pretty cool ship. Super neat. Stealth bomber, carries, you know, a bunch of, or it carries 3 size 9 torpedoes, very stealthy. Not amazing for dogfighting because it doesn't have like super great guns. But I think it's a pretty neat ship. It's very stylish, very cool to look at. It is, I think the main problem that I have with the Eclipse is it's pretty niche. Like, it's not a ship that you're gonna be breaking out like all the time. So I think we're gonna put it in the B tier. All right, the Mustang Alpha. You guys probably know I really like the Mustang Alpha. I think the Mustang Alpha is a great little ship. Yeah, I much prefer the Mustang Alpha over the Aurora. I just think it looks nicer. I prefer the guns. I just really like the Mustang Alpha. I'm gonna drop that into A tier. Mustang Beta, also a really good ship. It's basically a Mustang Alpha. Doesn't have the cargo rack underneath, but instead it does have a really cool little interior cabin in the back. You'd be really surprised at how roomy it actually is in that little interior cabin. So I really like the Mustang Beta as well. The Origins 600i touring version. This is a great ship. It's got great shields with the twin size 3s, great weaponry with the triple size 5 guns for the pilot. Of course, the remote turret guns that carry distortion weapons. Extremely neat. Obviously, of course, the interior of this ship is absolutely gorgeous. It has my favorite thing in the ship is the TVs that come out of the base of the beds. If you guys have never messed around with the 600i touring, it's so neat. And in like the footboards of the beds, there's little TVs that slide up and down. It makes me so happy. I love it. So we're gonna drop the 600i 600i touring version in the S tier. All right, the Vulcan. The Vulcan is small and chunky. It is a repair and refuel ship. It's quite small, actually. I can't remember exactly the dimensions of it, but it's a lot smaller than its concept art would lead you to believe. I like the Vulcan. I think it's a neat ship. I think it's really cool and unique, and I think it will fill a pretty unique role in the game when it comes out. So I'm gonna put it in the high A tier. The Hawk is terrible. It really is. Man, it's such a cool looking ship, but just like armament wise, it's super garbage. It has an EMP, but it's like the worst EMP in the entire game. Charges super slow, does not do much at all. It's just really bad. It doesn't fly all that great. It's got that weird like prisoner cell at the back of it that doesn't really work. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to put the Hawk in the D tier. It's so bad. The Pioneer. Less white space. Yes. The Pioneer. All right. The Pioneer is a pretty cool ship. Obviously we don't have it yet, so we don't know exactly how it's gonna work, but we do know that it is a capital ship. It is a base building ship. It's consolidated outland, which is always a plus. Love consolidated outland ships. It's a little bit difficult to judge how good it's actually going to be because we don't have it yet. But I'm gonna put it in the A tier there, I think, for right now. The Crucible. Now, the Crucible is kind of a weird ship. It's like a repair ship. It's got like this bay that you like fly in and you can like repair and stuff inside the ship. I might be a little bit of the of an outlier here. I am not the hugest fan of the Crucible, and I can't really explain why. I just think it looks kind of weird. But I think that having the Crucible around will be super good when you can, like, you know, repair ships just on the fly like it can do. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier. So the Terrapin is a neat little ship. It's a little turtle, very, you know, heavily armored, big scanner array, currently completely useless. It flies terribly. The big scanning package doesn't really do anything at all, unfortunately. But I do think that it's a neat little ship. It is the little turtle that could. So I'm gonna put the Terrapin there in the B tier. Man, I hate these things. The Archimedes and the Merlins are so unbelievably irritating in frickin' Arena Commander when you're doing like Pirate Swarm and stuff like that. They are so fast and so hard to hit, but they obviously don't really have very big guns either. They also don't have a quantum drive, which really limits their usefulness. Like they only work as a snub ship off of like a Connie. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm gonna put it in the D tier. The Mole. You guys know I love Argo ships. Argo ships are fantastic. The Mole is great. I love this thing. I think it's so cool. It is so industrial. I love the orange paint on it. They sold like a black one and a white one, but I love the orange paint that comes. It's basically standard on Argo ships. Banu Merchantman. I mean, where else can it go except for S? Yeah, oh man, I'm so excited for the Merchantman. It's gonna be so cool. Yeah, the Merchantman is huge. It's got massive guns. It's got that hangar, so much cargo space, gorgeous interior. I'm so excited for this ship to come out. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. Yeah, we're gonna put it right up there in S tier. The Aspiria Blade. Man, this ship looks so cool, but boy is it absolute garbage. What a terrible ship. It's so bad. The weapons it comes with are all bespoke and they're all really bad. The missile racks it comes with are also completely bespoke. It just does not fly very well. Just not very good. It's just really fragile. Has like no fuel at all. Man, this thing is bad. The Buccaneer. I love the Buccaneer. This is the first ship I ever flew in Star Citizen. So I might be slightly biased. Slightly biased towards the Buccaneer, but I really do like it. As far as fighters go, it's not like super agile, but man, can you put some big guns on this thing. And this thing, because it's got a size 4 hard point, it can absolutely demolish stuff. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, Buccaneer is fantastic. I think we're gonna put the Buccaneer up in A tier. Yeah. All right, the Mercury Star Runner. I love the Mercury Star Runner. I think the Mercury Star Runner is a great ship. It is so pretty. Such a unique design. It's super fast. Has pretty decent firepower when you've got it fully crewed. Yeah, it's just like, it's great for running cargo. It's great for doing stuff in Xenothreat. It's pretty decent in combat. I love the Mercury Star Runner. We're gonna toss it right up there. Yeah, the Endeavor's hot garbage. It's so terrible. I mean, there's a reason that John Crew, the head of like the ships department at Cloud Imperium, just does not even want to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. It is such a mess of a design, because it was designed in a period where they had no real concept, or like they didn't really have an idea of what they were actually going to be able to accomplish, or what was actually going to be like realistic for them to actually do. And so they were just kind of chucking out ideas, and someone was like, hey, how about we make a ship that is completely modular and does everything in the entire game? That'll be easy. Yeah, it's just an absolute nightmare. I can guarantee you this is going to be the last ship they ever make flyable. It is such a just disaster of a design. And what's going to happen, I think what's going to happen with the Endeavor is either they're just not going to make it, or what they're going to do is they're going to split it up into like several different ships, kind of like they did with like the Aries or the Starlifter, and just have, because just anything that has to do with modularity is just a complete disaster already. Like we can already see that they have no interest in dealing with anything that has to do with modularity. And not only does this thing have to do with modularity, but it's also supposed to do like medical gameplay and have a hangar and be able to do like science and like scanning and system mapping and like botany and like all of these things that are just like nowhere even within the conceivable realm of even starting development. It is such a nightmare of a design. It is such a piece of hot garbage, and it's staying in the trash tier. Don't argue with me. I love the Bandit Defender. It's such a neat little ship. I think it's so fun. This thing has, I don't think people realize how much quantum fuel the Defender has. This thing has so much, just not even just the quantum fuel, just fuel in general. If we're comparing it to the Blade, for example, it carries 10 times as much hydrogen fuel as the Blade does, and it carries how does math, 5 or 6 times as much quantum fuel. This thing can go so far on a single tank. It's extremely long ranged. The weapons on it are actually modular. It looks super neat. It's got room inside for doing boxes. The only thing that I would say about the Bandit Defender is it is so expensive. $220 for a light fighter is pretty crazy. But I do think it's a neat little ship, so we're gonna put it in B tier. Yeah, the Herald is, oh, okay. All right, let me break down my thoughts on the Herald. It's so fast. It's a neat little ship. It's got a cool interior. It is ridiculously fast. Does not have the greatest handling and does not really have that great of weapons either. It's pretty much a one-trick pony, but it does what it does really well. It's not particularly pretty, but it is kind of goofy. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. I think we're gonna put the Herald in the C tier. The Vulture is a super neat ship. I actually really like the way the Vulture looks. I think it's a really cool design, honestly. I'm really excited for Salvage as well. I think Salvage sounds like a pretty cool gameplay loop. And I think that, you know, when the Vulture comes out with Salvage in 3.18, it's going to be a super neat little ship. I do also love the yellow paint scheme on it. I think it looks really nice. Yeah, we're going to toss the Vulture up in A tier. So the Gladius Valiant is a Gladius. Yeah, it's just a Gladius with different paint and doesn't offer any real upgrades to it. I mean it's a Gladius, so it's like good, but the extra price tag for basically nothing gained. I mean it has like a different starting loadout, but that's not particularly important. Oh, Glaive. Man, this thing is gorgeous. It's so pretty. One of the prettiest ships. Like that flame design down the wings and stuff like that. So neat looking. I really do like the Glaive. It's not like amazing in combat though, is kind of the problem. Like it's pretty slow. If I recall from the last time I flew it, like it does not handle very well, does not have that great of fuel. Also it has the problem of having the weapons being completely fixed. It can stab ships. I just don't know how I feel about your best offensive strategy being crashing into people. I'm just not sure not sure how I feel about that. But it's extremely pretty. It's decently strong. I think we're gonna put it in. I think we put it in the A tier, somewhere there. Yeah. Hull B. $140 standalone pledge. 50 meters long. 384 SCU of cargo space. That's a pretty insane amount of cargo for the price that it is. I mean it's about, that's pretty similar cargo capacity to the Hercules M2, I think. Obviously not great in combat, but it is such a good budget cargo hauler. I think that the Hull series are super neat. Yeah, we're gonna toss the Hull B up into the A tier. That's the E. The Hull E. This thing is fully ridiculous. This is another ship that I think that we're not gonna see for an extremely long time just because of how ridiculous it is. It's completely colossal. I mean, it's almost the size of a javelin. Their, you know, estimated cargo space is almost 100,000 SCU, which is just completely absurd. You know, it'll probably be a few years before we actually see the Hull E, I would imagine. But we'll toss it up in A tier with the Hull B. The Javelin. I mean, what can you say about the Javelin? It's going in S tier. Like, it's just so cool. It's so big. Such just gigantic guns, gigantic torpedoes, such a cool design for a ship as well. I really like the way that it looks. The big thing with a Javelin, obviously, is just having enough people to actually competently crew it. Can be pretty difficult just because it is so big. And I forget what the exact, like, minimum crew complement for the Javelin is, but it's a lot of people. Yeah. The Hurricane! The angry green flying Dorito. Man, this thing is strong. It's incredibly strong. I have some... I know that people really love the Hurricane. I have some gripes with it. So, first of all, I don't think that the Hurricane is that great looking of a ship. I mean, it's like fine. It's not ugly, but it's not like pretty either. But man, this thing is strong in combat. It's pretty crazy. I personally don't like the turret on the back of it. I think the field of visibility on the turret is pretty bad. It's got like this metal thing that's like right here. So if you look up, you're just staring at metal. So the visibility out of the turret isn't that good. But it's a good ship, honestly. So we're gonna toss it up here in the B tier. The Origin 85X is okay-ish. It's not that great. I think it's pretty ugly. It can fit 2 people, which is kind of neat, for a snub ship, but doesn't have that great of guns. It flies okay, only has 1 shield. I think it's pretty mid. We're gonna put it in C tier. The Pirate Caterpillar. This thing is terrible, and let me tell you why. I'm honestly actually tempted to put it in the trash tier, but I think we'll just leave it in the D tier. So, the normal Caterpillar is slow, unwieldy, fragile with the shields down, horrible interior, horribly confusing. The Pirate Caterpillar is that, but also the paint scheme is bad because they changed it and it no longer has this red on the wings. It's just it has no red on it at all. It's just completely black, but it has like the little skull on the wing. And you can only get it with 6 months insurance. And it's more expensive than a normal Caterpillar. And you can only have it with 6 months insurance because you can only buy it standalone. You cannot upgrade to it. The Polaris. The Polaris has got to go up here in S tier. I'm so excited for the Polaris. I think it looks so cool. It's such a neat ship. It's going to be a very, very great ship to take out on an exploration into hostile areas just because it's so well armed and well defended. Capital class components, very fast, has a hangar that can fit, you know, up to like a Saber or one of those smaller heavy fighters. Excuse me. Yeah, big guns, massive torpedoes. That thing is gonna kick some serious butt, and I'm all for it. The Prowler. All right. As things stand, it is the second worst dropship in the game. People always bring up the fact that it can kind of dogfight, except not really. Because anything that's actually dogfighting is going to be way faster than this thing. It does have twin size 2 shields and like really, really heavy stealth reduction on the hull. But does not have that many drop seats. You can't fit any vehicles in it. Only the pilot and maybe the co-pilot actually get guns to help fight things. And also it's $440. It's so expensive. It is I think $100 more expensive than the Valkyrie, which is the best dropship in the game. And there's just it's so incredibly overpriced. I mean, it looks cool, but it is the most overpriced ship in the game, in my opinion. And that's a shame. The Saber Raven, neat ship, very rare, very exclusive to people who, you know, either got it when that promotion thing was going on or bought it off the gray market. I actually don't like the way that the Saber Raven looks as much as the normal Saber. I think it's neat, but it's nothing like super special. The Razors are neat. They're pretty fast. I mean, they're racing ships. I don't really care about racing all that much. I'm just gonna chuck it in the C tier. The Retaliator. Retaliator's pretty cool. I love the submarine feeling of it. It's very claustrophobic. Very cool. This thing has so much hull HP, which makes up for it not having very good shields. It can eat quite a bit of damage. Of course, carries the size 9s. Yeah, it's a super neat ship. I think we're gonna chuck the Retaliator up here in the B tier. I love the Apollo. I think the Apollo is such a cool. I think the Apollo series is such a cool looking ship. I'm not sure exactly what it is about it that I really like, but I just really like the designs of the Apollo. I think the whatever this red one is not quite as good as the other version. But I think that we are going to toss it up in the A tier. Yeah, I think we'll put it right up at the top of the A tier. There we go. Yeah, I really like the Apollo. I think we need more dedicated medical ships in game for medical gameplay. I would love to do medical gameplay, but the only medical ships we have at the moment are the Cutlass Red and the Carrack and the 890 Jump, which are just way too big and unwieldy to be like just taking it around all around everywhere. And that's a good reminder to anyone here in the stream who has not subscribed to me on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It costs you literally $0 and brings you endless happiness because you get to listen to my voice more. Man, the Orion's such a cool looking ship. I cannot wait to just like randomly stumble into an asteroid field to just see one of these things just literally eating asteroids with those gigantic mining lasers of it. So cool, so massive. Very excited to see it in game. We're gonna chuck it up here in the A tier. The Genesis Starliner. Some people really like this thing. I'm not sure if I completely adore the design of it, personally. I think we're gonna chuck this. Let's chuck that in the B tier for now, yeah. The Espiria Talon. What a gorgeous ship. Honestly, one of the prettiest ships in the game. This thing is so pretty. And obviously people love it because it's extremely strong. I mean, it was kind of meta-defying for a while, right? But what a neat looking ship. I mean, it's kind of hard to hate the Talon. The Santok Yal, this thing. I have honestly, I have like no thoughts on this thing. Like it looks all right. It's like a heavy fighter, kind of similar to the Cartual. It'll probably sound great. Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll chuck it in C tier. Why not? The Tonk. I mean, Tonk's got to be A tier, right? Like it's the Tonk. It's so cool. The Prospector. It's all right. The 890 Jump, man, I love the 890 Jump. Yeah, we're gonna chuck that up here. A90 jump is so cool. It's so gorgeous, so opulent. I always feel so epic whenever I'm flying it around. I mean, it's just amazing. It's so big. I mean, it's the only capital class ship that we have that's actually flyable right now, and it's just great. Every time I pull out an 890 jump, I think it's just awesome. The M50 is all right. It's better than this thing. M50 is all right. It's very fast. I don't really care about racing, but it's a nice looking ship. Very fast, very fun to fly. All right, the Odyssey, the Misc Odyssey. This is such a neat looking ship, honestly. Like I've got to put this in A tier, right? Like the Odyssey just looks really cool. I like the raft. It's so slow, but it's a neat looking little ship. We're gonna toss this up into A tier as well. The Gladiator. I like the Gladiator. I had so much fun flying the Gladiator in Xenothreat. But yeah, I really like the Gladiator. I think it's a super neat ship. I have like no opinions on this thing. It's all right. The Arrow. Yeah, the Arrow's okay. It's very fast. Yeah, as far as ships I like to fly, it's a little on the twitchy side for me. But it's a good fighter overall. I think we'll put it there. The Cartual. This is a really difficult one to rank. It's a neat ship. It sounds super cool. It just plays dubstep in your ears the whole time, basically, which is pretty great. Yeah, like you gotta love the Cartual. I think the main problem with the Cartual is just that it's not, apart from like sounding cool and being incredibly fast, it's not that great for much else. So I think we're gonna put it in B tier. The Rylan. I like this ship a lot. I think it's very cool looking. One of the coolest looking ships, honestly. And it's just, and I think it's just gonna be a really good ship. Like, it's got big guns on it, quite a few missiles, good cargo capacity, fat shields. It's really cool. Scorpius. It is an X-Wing from Star Wars. It's basically what it is. Yeah, it's a neat ship. I like the look of it. I will probably be getting one when it comes out this patch. I expect it to fly pretty well and be fairly strong. Maybe it will fit in like an Odyssey and Polaris hangar. That would be nice. 400i obviously is the GOAT. Yeah, just amazing. I mean, it's so pretty. So much fuel. Yeah, I just love everything about the 400i. It's just, every time I fly it, I fall in love with it over again. I really like the Nomad. I think it's a really neat looking ship. Honestly, one of my favorite ships in the game. I do really like the Nomad a lot, actually. I think we're gonna toss it up here in S tier. All right, so the Perseus is Perseus is all right. It looks neat. It has some big guns on it. How effective they will actually be, I don't know. I have my doubts that it will be as effective of like an escort ship as like a Hammerhead, just because it doesn't really have any protection against fighters whatsoever at all, period. It has big guns on it, which I mean, may be able to do some damage to like a capital class ship, but also a capital class ship will most likely also have bigger guns and can just completely blow the Perseus away with like an Idris railgun shot, or, you know, the Javelin, which has like 30 size 7 guns as opposed to only 4 that the Perseus has. That said, I do think it's a pretty neat looking ship. We're gonna yeah, we'll put it up. We'll put it in the A tier. The Redeemer. This is a really cool ship. This is one of the first ships that I fell in love with the design of it. Some people seem to think that the Redeemer is really ugly. I personally think it's beautiful. I really like the look of the Redeemer. It is one of my favorite ships in the game. It's very powerful, massive guns, looks really cool, has a really neat interior, has a functioning fridge, just a lot of really neat things on it. It's really, really well designed, really complete. Hey, Saban. The Corsair. Yeah, I think the Corsair is a neat looking ship. As far as they've shown us some like 3D renders of the interior of it and stuff like that, and it looks kind of messy on the interior. I'm not 100% sure that I'm gonna like that. It's got some big guns on it though, and it is an exploration ship, and I do like exploration, so I think we're gonna put it right there in A tier. Okay, when the Liberator first came out, I hated this thing. I thought it was so ugly. I've kind of come around on it a little bit. It is still just a big cheese wedge, but I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. It's a big ship. It's gonna be very useful once it's in game, and it also the excuse me, the Concierge exclusive paint that comes with it looks really nice. I would say that it's still not like my favorite design, but I'll put it at the top of B tier. Oh, I have very mixed feelings about the Mantis, and let me tell you guys why. The Mantis sure looks cool, and it's got like a quantum snare, but apart from like having a quantum snare, yeah, I think the Mantis is just not that great of a ship. It sure looks cool when you've got that QED, the quantum interdiction thingy turned on though. Just like that red glow that surrounds it is just so pretty. Until they can get the Reclaimer working CRD. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. The Reclaimer, man, this thing is cool. It is such a cool ship. The interior of it is just really, really, really neat. It is, I mean, it's got so many floors. It's just a maze inside this thing. It's massive, looks amazing, completely useless right now. Can't even get out of atmosphere if it's windy. So slow. Just burns through fuel so fast. It's just constantly broken. I cannot with any good conscience give it higher than like a medium B, as much as I do love this thing, until it gets more of a use. So the whole D is in this weird spot kind of between the whole C and the whole E, where it's expensive enough to not really be like a cheap utilitarian ship, right? But it's not big or expensive enough to be like a full capital. It's kind of like the awkward, like mid to late teenage years version of the Or maybe like the midlife crisis version of the whole series. That said, it holds a ridiculous amount of cargo. Pisces is such a cute little ship. Surprisingly roomy inside. You can fit quite a bit of stuff in the Pisces. It's got some little jump seats if you want to take some friends along. Especially like the expedition version of it has extra weapon hardpoints. That white paint with the red glass was just gorgeous. I love the Pisces. I think we're gonna toss it here. The hull A. I mean, it's the baby brother. I don't like the looks of the hull A as much as the rest of the whole series. It looks a little bit insect-like, and it doesn't have a captain's chair. Nautilus is cool. I really like the Nautilus. I think the concept of like a mine layer ship is just super cool. Hornet Wildfire is really pretty. This thing looks really cool. I don't think it's really different at all from the normal Hornet, except for being like way more expensive. The Saber, man, this thing's gorgeous, and very good in a fight too. I do really like the Saber. It's just so pretty, especially with the gold standard pass that it has now. It's got just a lot of good stuff. The Aries Inferno. Man, the Aries are pretty. They're just not that good. It works pretty good against like mid-large size ships like a Connie or 600i or like a Hammerhead, but against actual capital ships, which is what they're supposed to fight, not really. Hornet Ghost, I will say this until the end of time, is the best version of the Hornet. The Super Hornet is bad. The Super Hornet is an objectively worse version of the Hornet. You get a secondary seat, which can sometimes access a remote turret on the Hornet, but it's just not that necessary, really. The other thing is it just has worse hardpoints in general. It's slower than the normal Hornet, more expensive than the normal Hornet, less missiles than the normal Hornet, and it's just kind of worse. Oh, Heartseeker. This thing is garbage. Basically what it is a Super Hornet, but completely broken in every conceivable way. It is so terrible. It is the worst fighter in the game. It is an absolute piece of junk. Speaking of things being terrible. Hello, Starfarer. Oh boy. This thing is bad. The interior of this ship is just complete nonsense. It makes no sense. All the assets are incredibly old. It's not this bad, but it's really bad. The Starfarer Gemini is a little bit better. Just because it has bigger guns, missiles, heavier armor plating. So we're gonna check that up in the C tier, I think. Constellation Aquila. Man, this thing is just bad. It's so bad. It's the most expensive version of the Constellation by like $100, and has essentially no benefits at all over the regular Constellations, other than having worse weaponry and just essentially being completely overpriced. It's like if you want to it's just like spend $100 less and get a 400i, which is just better. Constellation Andromeda. This thing's a monster. This thing can do so much damage. I mean, as we've seen, if you guys saw the like debriefing for the most recent Xeno threat, Constellation Andromeda actually as the deadliest ship in the whole event. So this thing can really mess you up. It's got great guns. It's great for crew play. Comes with a Merlin snub ship, 2 turrets for people to use, tons of missiles, big guns on it. Yeah, it's a good ship. Taurus is pretty good too. I actually like the way that the Taurus looks. It's a little bit longer than the rest of the Constellation series. Yeah, nice looking ship. And then we've got the Constellation Phoenix, B tier. It's alright, but it still has, like the back half of it is, like, gorgeous. But then the front half of it is still pretty horrible. The Idris M, man, this thing is cool. That railgun is so epic. Yeah, we're gonna chuck it up into S tier. Every time I see one in game, I'm always just like, oh, I need to have one. I need one right now. I love it. The Aries Ion. Every time I see this thing, it makes me sad. All right, the Mustang Delta. I like the Delta. I think the Delta is a cool ship. Yeah, we're gonna put this up here, I think. Yeah. The Avenger Titan. This is a pretty good ship. It's not particularly pretty. It's not particularly ugly either. Yeah, this Titan is, I don't think, really like any different at all. Same with this one. These three are just kind of like not really that different. This is the Warlock though. The Warlock has an EMP, which a lot of people don't really know and don't really expect when you show up in an Avenger and then EMP them. The Gladius, I mean, this is the best fighter in the game. It's really good. It's not like extremely pretty or anything, but like it is just the best fighter in the game. It beats everything. The Kraken. Man, this thing is cool. It's so big. I mean, this is one of the coolest ships in the game. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone will agree that the Kraken is just awesome. The Carrack. We've got the normal Carrack and the Carrack Expedition. They are exactly the same, apart from in looks. I think that the Carrack Expedition looks a lot cooler. So it goes in S tier, and this one goes in A tier. The Kraken Privateer. This thing is absolutely epic. It replaces some of the cargo space on the normal Kraken with a like black market, which is just really, really sick. That's just so cool. It's just like a miniature little city inside the ship, turning it into even more of just like a flying spaceport. I think that's just awesome. I really like the Privateer. I think it's really, really, really neat. Yeah. There we go. The Valkyrie. I really like the Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a nice ship. I think it's extremely neat. We're gonna chuck that up into S tier. It is. I mean, it's the best drop ship in the game, obviously. But just from a personal standpoint, I think it just does a lot of things really well. It's just really, really neat to look at on the outside. Really neat to look at on the inside. It's got cool VTOL thrusters. Lots of turrets for people to mess around with, both manned and remote turrets. It flies really nicely. It's got plenty of space for, you know, personnel and as well as gear, and also you can fit like some smaller ground vehicles in it. It's just a really, really good ship. Apollo Triage. I love this thing. This is one of my favorite ships. Honestly, we're gonna... yeah, put it up here near the top. Yeah, it's like the Apollo, this one, but better. The Hercules. So we've got the C2, which is the cargo variant. I think is a very good ship. The M2, which is kind of... I think the M2 is actually not quite as great as the C2 because it doesn't have much more that it offers than the C2, but it has less, like, pretty significantly less cargo space. And the A2 obviously has quite a lot less cargo space, but it has the giant bombs, which makes it just super cool. All right, the 100i. I like the 100 series. I think all three of these are really neat little ships. I think the 125 probably slightly less good, but then the 135 is I think better than the 100i. This is a great runabout. It has tons of fuel, really good fuel scoops. It's very, very fast. It makes a great runabout daily driver. All right, the 600i Expedition. I put the normal 600i in S tier. The Expedition is going to go down here to the bottom of A tier. The interior of it is just a lot less nice. Yeah, it's just not a very good interior. The Cutlass Steel. I will probably be at odds with some people by saying this, but I actually really like the Cutlass Steel. It is definitely overpriced as far as the Cutlass series goes, but I like it. It's definitely not the best drop ship, but I think it's a pretty neat ship. I really like those side guns. I think they're super neat. So we're gonna chuck it up in B tier. Vanguards are really cool looking ships. I love these big, like, glowing intakes that they have. The Harbinger, I really like the Harbinger. It's got some things on it that just make me smile. Like the big old, like where it's got a window where you can see like the big rockets, and then right underneath where it has the rockets, it has a little thing that says "With Love" and then the Anvil Aerospace logo. And I think that's super fun. The Sentinel, personally, I don't like the Sentinel as much. I think I've said this before. I don't really like EMPs. I find them to be kind of, usually kind of fiddly to use and not that great. But in the hands of someone who's actually competent with that kind of thing, the Sentinel's like a really good ship. The Vanguard Warden. This is the bare bones version of the Vanguard and is kind of mediocre. The Cutlass Blue. Now this thing is neat. I really like the Cutlass Blue. It's very cheap. It has a quantum interdiction device, which a lot of people don't actually know. It does actually have a quantum snare. It is one of only 2 ships in the entire game that has a quantum snare, which makes it pretty unique. It also has the red and blue, like, flashing police lights, which is super neat. And then in the back of it, it's got all these, like, body bags hanging from the ceiling, which is just so hilarious and atmospheric. I kind of love it. Okay, so the yellow one is the news van. This thing is garbage. I think this is the core. Yeah, Mako is news. Yeah, I think this is the core. The core is a little better. It's kind of like mid. Yeah, I'll put it there. This is the this is the science one, the Sen. I think that this is the smallest and cheapest science ship in the entire game. Nothing else is even close to as small as this ship that can actually do science. Not that science actually exists or will exist for years, but we're gonna put it there, I think. And then the Tana, I actually really quite like the Tana. We were playing with it on... Was it on stream that we were messing around with the Tana? And we discovered that if you put the correct mounts on the ends of the wings, the co-pilot can actually go in as a remote turret and it has a 360-degree view around the ship and can basically just shoot anywhere. It's pretty crazy. And it's got like a lot of guns and a ton of missiles. It's a really good little ship. The Freelancer. I love the Freelancer. This, actually, the first gameplay package that I got for Star Citizen was the Freelancer package. I really like the Freelancer. I think it's a really good ship. So we're going to toss the Freelancer up into A tier. Freelancer Max, still a good ship. I don't personally like it quite as much as the normal Freelancer, just because I think that it being a little chunkier ruins the looks of it. Here we go, the Freelancer Miz. I love this thing. This thing is a beast. My first like month of playing Star Citizen, this was one of my only ships that I had. Was the Miz, and I was so happy. The Idris P, I think, is going in top of B tier, just because it doesn't have the railgun, and also has fewer turrets. It's just not as cool. Cutlass Red. This is the only really usable medical ship in the entire game right now, and it only has tier 3 beds. So, I mean, it's very useful. I just wish that we had better medical ships. Yeah, the 300i, good ship, really good ship. 325. Also really good ship. I think I'm gonna put this one a little bit higher as well. 315p is also an extremely good ship. And then the 350R is a little bit worse. It is, I think, the second fastest ship in the game. It's so fast. But as far as like combat goes, it's not that great, and it doesn't have as good of like interior amenities. Oh boy, Cutlass Black. I don't like the Cutlass Black. I think the Cutlass Black is crap. It's just the whole back section of it is just so uninteresting and horrible. It's all old assets. It's got those doors on the sides that are completely pointless, and if you get out of them and had locked the ship, you physically can't get back into the ship. It's also, it's almost the exact same price as a Freelancer, but has less firepower and one less shield, and also an extremely low amount of hull HP. It's just worse than a Freelancer in every conceivable way. I used to really not like the Caterpillar. I've come around to it a little bit. I think it's a pretty decent ship. I don't think it's like amazing, but I think it's worthy of being like here maybe. Oh, the Hammerhead. Oh, this thing's awesome. I love the Hammerhead. I do really like the Hammerhead. The Talon Shrike. It is, again, very, very, very pretty. One of the prettiest ships in the entire game. Where did I put the... Where did I put the regular Talon? There. Yeah, Shrike is just as pretty, but worse in performance. The Scythe. The Scythe is a glaive, but worse. Because I think the guns are slightly worse, and the lopsided look is weird. and it only has one. It has one blade, but the blades don't really work on it actually. Now that I think about it, we're gonna put it in C tier because it's kind of broken. Doesn't really work, and it doesn't have like the cool red paint on it. And if you don't like where I placed one of these ships, please feel free to go down in the comments and tell me exactly how wrong I am and why you think that. And while you're doing that, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, and go check out some of my other videos that I do on Star Citizen as well, because they're all pretty good.